What's up, YouTube? It's the Action Figure Grader coming back to you with another market update, this time for some vintage Kenner items. Most of these are going to be later releases, but I did run the full gamut of some items that ended recently, and there are a number of auctions still going right now on eBay that are extremely hot. So I'm going to cover those in a different video a little bit later on, probably this weekend. But I thought I'd sneak in this video with, I think, 10 items or so that were interesting enough to cover and talk about. So let's go ahead and dig right in. But before I do, if you enjoy these kind of market updates, make sure to subscribe for future content, like the video, and comment below. So let's look at the first one here. This is a 21-back secret Star Wars action figure offer, and this is Princess Leia. This is a beautiful item. This is a mint on card that is ungraded, unpunched, and in fantastic condition. It just ended 4 days ago, and it sold at $650 plus $12.50 shipping. I tried to kind of guess the grade on this one, and it's got a little bit of sticker removal litho damage in the upper right-hand corner, but give me a break. This is Princess Leia in an absolutely fantastic condition. You can see in the bottom right-hand corner, it had a little tiny crease that shows up a little bit worse actually on the back, and I'll show you that in a second. But Princess Leia is a tough one because like all the white figures, these are 40-year-old figures, and they tend to, even inside the blister, they tend to yellow, or the paint degrades over time. And this is a good example of that, where it's got some very, very minor discoloration and paint degradation to the limbs. You can see her arms and her legs are not quite as bright white as you see in some really super mint examples. So even though the weapon is still attached to the blister, which usually gets it an 85 score for the figure score, my guess is that this one would probably get at grading an 80 score, only because you can see the slight color difference in the limbs. But it was, in really overall amazing condition. You can see in the back of the card here where the crease that I mentioned earlier is a little bit worse on the back, but and then you can see both corners have some damage there. But I don't know. I think that realistically, this thing would probably grade out at a minimum of a 75 plus. You might eke out an 80 grade, just depending on if the graders had a good day and had a good lunch and slept well last night. But for $650, I think pretty much any mint on card Princess Leia is going for big money, and $650 seems like a really great price for that one. Next, we have an item that's in my collection, and I wanted to talk about this one because it's really nice, but it does have very slight yellowing. This is a 32-back B Luke with the looking photo. Again, I've got this one in my collection, but the blister is very faint yellowing around the right-hand edge, as well as actually on the blister, as well as some minor bubble dings, things like that, blister dings. And the head of the figure is popping out. And, if you look at the very top of Luke's head there, he does appear to be starting to pop out. He also has a little bit of paint imperfection from the factory around the lightsaber hilt, as well as on his face. You can see some specks around his eyeball there. So again, I think that the figure score for this one would be a max of an 80. But I would caution you, when you're looking at these, to really take a closer look at how that blister has changed, because as blisters yellow, they shrink and they become more brittle. And with his head kind of poking up there towards the top of the blister, I worry a little bit about transit, not only shipping to you, but if you decided to grade something like this, shipping to the graders and all the handling that's involved. And there's always potential with these yellowed blisters, because they're more fragile, that it could just pop right out. I see it happen time and time again. And if you pay big money for it, you got to be really careful. Here's another angle that just shows some slight issues there. It doesn't look as bad in that photo, but looking really closely at that first photo, it just looks like he's getting ready to pop out there. And this one did sell for $652 plus $12.50 shipping. I mean, I don't know when exactly I bought mine, but mine was already graded AFA 80 with a clear blister, and I think I paid $575 for it. Chris W, who I got it from, could correct me on that. I might have paid a little bit more than that. I don't remember. But that just shows you that Luke Bespins continue to go up in popularity. But this was more, I wanted to show this one mainly because it was more of a caution that, just keep in mind that if you're buying a yellow blister, that there's always a chance that it shatters, or that, the figure pops out of the blister during transit. Next, we've got another one in my collection. This is a 32 back B debut card for Yoda on the ESB card. Really nice item. It's got some slight litho damage in the upper right-hand corner, but it is unpunched. It's got some very slight creasing towards the top by the punch hole, but really, really nice. And this one is, I believe, the Cherry Eyes Unitoys. Correct me if I'm wrong, you Yoda experts. It looks like the Cherry Eyes Yoda. And that one sold for $435. That's about market right now, for let's call it an 80 grade. Really nice item. But it seems like you're going to pay in that range, $400 to $450 for a 32 back B Yoda in really good condition. Next, we got a really interesting one. I was talking to my buddy Scott T on this one, and he's really looking for the debut card for the TIE Fighter, or the Imperial TIE Fighter palette. And he made his debut on this card. This is the 47 back free 4-LOM offer. And I think I told him I guessed it would sell for around 600. And it did sell for a little bit higher than that. It sold for 641 plus shipping. So let's call it 650. This one is easily an 80 grade, if not higher, 80 plus, and really nice item. I mean, beautiful. But those debut TIE Fighter palette cards with a clear blister, weapons still attached inside the blister, you're going to pay some big money for it. And it came in a little bit higher than, let's call it about 10% higher than I expected. But I think it was a fair price for it. It was a fair price for the buyer as well as the seller. So next up, we had another one I was looking at really closely, and I really wanted to put a bid on this one. I think this one would probably grade out at straight 80s, and that is the transition card, 48 back Return of the Jedi lobot. I've always wanted to, some more of these free Neon Numb offer cards, and it was in really good shape. Clear blister, which it's not difficult to find for these 48 backs. The weapon had come loose, so you're probably looking at an 80 score max for the figure score, but the card was in pretty good shape overall, and it had one slight crease you can see right here in the close-up on the back. Spider vein, it did not poke through. It did poke through on the front, but it was very difficult to see. Just the very, there you go. You can see around the Jedi, Return of the Jedi logo. It's got a very, very faint crease there. I think it would have scored straight 80s. And whoever bought this, you got a great deal. It's just, $183 for this clear blister on a transition card. Very highly desirable card back. And, I know Lobot, say what you want about Lobot, but he's got style. He's got that blouse, that men's blouse look going on. Look at those sleeves on him. And he's kind of ridiculed, in some of the Facebook groups, but I love him. I think he's awesome. And I've got a couple of pre-production Lobots. I'd love to get a mint on card to kind of match with him, but very fair price for that one, in my opinion. Next, this is one that really shocked me in terms of the price. This was a 65 back Stormtrooper. And the reason this one sold for $910 shipped is because it is a clear blister. And I looked at it really hard from across all different angles. The weapon's still in his hand. And the card back with other than some very minor dings on the very bottom of the card, that was a great card back. It had a very faint sticker residue around the top right, just below the Return of the Jedi logo. But I think you're looking at an 80 plus or an 85 score for this thing. And I had guessed before this thing even got close, I said it was going to sell for around 600, just because it's so hard to find the later card backs. 65 backs, 77 backs, 79 back Return of the Jedi cards. They're almost always yellowed at this point. But this one was still clear, and someone paid up for it. It sold for $900. That is a lot of money for a Return of the Jedi card back, but clearly the market is spoken here that says that if you have a Return of the Jedi clear blister, a true clear blister, not slightly yellow, but true clear blister, you're going to get big dollars for it. So keep that in mind if you're a seller and you have some clear later card backs that, I'm sorry about all the pop-ups here, but if you got some clear later Return of the Jedi card backs, it's going to sell for big money. So next, this one was a beautiful item, certainly well outside of my price budget, but I wanted to include this in a video because you don't see these department store multi-packs come up much at auction. They're usually listed for a buy it now price for a really high price. This one was a very low start price, and it sold for big money. This was the 8-pack Return of the Jedi Collections card back multi-pack, and it had the Gammy, it had Klaatu, Squidhead, Reese, the Biker Scout, Emperor's Royal Guard, Bib Fortuna, and Weequay, and it graded 85 with AFA. Here's the label on it, department store multi-pack. Beautiful, beautiful item. You just do not see these come up in such mint condition for auction. These multi-packs were just beat up and manhandled, either with shipping or, just over time. They're just hard to find in mint condition. And that one sold for $1,424 and change. Just an epic item. Nothing that I would ever get, but I just thought it would be kind of cool to show you that because they just so rarely come up for auction. And, I don't know if I've mentioned this in past, but when I do these market updates, I really do like to include mainly auction items because I think that gives you a better true sense of unless there's market manipulation going on, which I don't think that was the case with this one. But this was listed by Brian's Toys, who's a pretty well-known seller. He does occasionally have auctions. But I like to include auctions because I think it's a better measure of what the market is telling you it's worth. There's always going to be people that do buy it nows, either because they're impatient or because they're loaded and they have a lot of money. But to find auctions, true auctions, where these items come up, it's really cool to see. Next, this is another item that just ended last night. Another one I was talking to Scott T about, my buddy. This was a clear blister Luke Jedi Knight, but what unique about this one is that it was, number one, a clear blister, which is very tough to find with Luke Jedis. You just rarely see those come up. But also, it had double offers. It had the free coin offer for the Boba Fett Power of the Force 2 coin, and then it also had the Anakin Skywalker free action figure offer. So it had a double offer on it, plus a clear blister. An absolutely incredible item. Archival case with AFA, 80 near mint, 80, 80, 85 were the subscores. This is a really unique item, and for it to come up at auction is very rare. I had guessed, I think, with Scott that it would sell around 800, and it only sold at 645, which, I mean, still, that's a lot of money, I know. But Scott T raised a good point that I think that if the seller had listed this in the Deal or No Deal group on Facebook, a group that I've mentioned many times, he would have gotten a lot more money for it. So keep that in mind if you're a reseller, that if you have an item like this that is pretty rare, number one, to have a clear blister plus double offers, this is a highly desirable item, especially among Luke Jedi Focus collectors. And you would have gotten a lot more money for this item if you had listed this on the Deal or No Deal group. There's no doubt about it. So it's a great point by Scott. And just a selling tip, if you're out there selling items that are high grade or really rare, or both like this one, you would have gotten a lot more money, I think, listing it on Facebook. Next, I got a custom. I just thought I wanted to show this because it's such a cool custom. This seller, Hercules, listed this one. I believe this is Chris W. I'm not positive on that, but he sold this one, and I really liked the design of this one. And I didn't know, Chris, I didn't know you were selling this one. But really cool, and it was an 80 grade for the Boba Fett and an 80 grade for the Skiff mini rig, and I think that was a very fair price. Let's call it $363 with shipping, and I love these kind of combination where they put the figure that was on the packaging, the original packaging for the mini rig. I love these combinations. Chris W's got a number of these on his Instagram if you want to check out some more of them. Hey, Chris, next time, why don't you reach out to me and see if I want it, I'm kidding, but let's wrap it up with a last 17. Last 17 figures have, as you guys know, if you collect vintage Star Wars figures, last 17 figures have just shot through the roof. But I've actually seen some loose graded, high grade EV99s sell for close to this price, just loose graded. And this was a mint on card that was yellowed, a yellowed blister, which almost 99% of them are. But it was an 80 grade, 80, 80, 85 for the sub scores. And it sold at $681 plus shipping. So about, let's call it $700. That's a pretty fair price, honestly, in the current environment. And like I mentioned, I've seen EV99 high grade 85 pluses sell in that 600 plus range. So I think whoever bought this probably paid about market value for it for a mint on card, and it had 35 bids and sold in an auction. So a really good price, I think, but just another example that the last 17 figures continue to climb in value. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like and subscribe for future content. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll be back soon.